Welcome everybody to the regular June meeting, which is July 1st actually, of the Clay Township Board of Trustees. Our first order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Mary, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes.
First order of business is an approval of minutes from the May 27th, 2014 board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Well, I'll second, but I have discussion.
That's fine. Discussion?
Yes, going to the board comments in the back, and the third sentence of number 8, she read in the paper that some children would not get lunch due to the fees owed. It was not indicated in here that they're not children in our area. The article that I talked about was not from Carmel. My concern was to make sure that we didn't have that problem here. So just a verbal correction, is that enough?
I think the board needs to do a motion and
Approve
second.
as amended.
All right. May I have an amended motion to approve as noted?
So moved to approve as amended.
And I second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the May 27th meeting with the amendment as noted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion will carry 3-0. Next order is public comments. Would anybody like to address the board this evening?
With the exception of the grant people.
Right.
Right.
We'll get to that in 11 seconds. Actually, not quite that quickly. We do have one action item. Action item is an approval of the interlocal agreement between Clay Township and the City of Carmel on the fire station's construction project. Doug?
At this time, I'd like to just turn it over to our township attorney, Brian Bosma, please.
Very good. Brian, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Trustee, members of the board. Good to be with you tonight. We circulated the proposed interlocal cooperation agreement with the City of Carmel to you about a month ago, and we circulated it to the city as well. As you know, but I'll briefly walk through it, it allows the township to levy a uniform debt service rate across the township, including within the city, for the purposes of 3 construction projects that are joint construction projects, essentially, with the city, either the replacement or renovation of Station 43, the replacement of Station 44, and the new fire training, repair shop, and emergency operations command center. The city received the materials. The mayor responded and said he thought they were in order. I did not get an affirmative response back from the city's attorney, despite several contacts. So I'm hopeful that that means all is well. And I can walk through any details you'd like here. It allows for the uniform tax rate. It provides for the establishment of a joint fire building corporation. As we'll discuss later this evening, the proposal is a lease purchase transaction with the authority and the township for these 3 facilities. And at the end of the repayment period, which is anticipated to be 20 years, but that'll be subject to discussion later, the township, the authority will deed the properties to the township, and the township will deed the authorities to the city. This is very similar to how we handled 2 stations construction in 2000, and we based the interlocal cooperation agreement on that. There's more details because we didn't do that one as a lease purchase. We didn't provide that provided for joint ownership at the end of the term. This provides for the city to own, and then a joint operation through the existing fire contract, which is all on the city. So with that, I'd be very happy to answer your questions or address any particular issues or give further details, Chairman.
Before discussion, let's have a motion and approval, and then we can open it to discussion. Do I have a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between the township and the city on the fire station's construction project.
I so move.
Second.
Second. Discussion?
Does this in any way give up, I mean, we're doing all that, we are holding the liability and we're paying for it. Are we giving up any power on decision-making with this interlocal?
Well, let me address your supposition first. They are really granting to you the authority, the city is granting to the township the authority to collect taxes within the city, which you would not have the authority to do but for this interlocal cooperation agreement. You could only collect taxes in that portion of the city or the township outside of the city, which, as we know, is a very small section. So you aren't really giving up any authority here, I wouldn't say, Matt. You're sharing that authority. You are sharing actually you're assuming the repayment obligation entirely, but it's on the city's taxpayers equally with the township's taxpayers. So it's an accommodation to the city. I think it's favorable for the city, but it also gives you total control. I shouldn't say total control, gives you principal control of the projects as they move forward, with the city, of course, having an equal voice in that, but it'll be with your building corporation.
I have a question.
Was that sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question about the joint board, which is
Okay.
composed of 4 members, and
Yep.
then the initial board of directors. They're 2 very different boards,
They are
aren't they?
two, yes, that's a very good question. You don't like me to embellish on that just a little
Yes,
bit, because a
please.
trustee asked me that same question today. Because one has 4, one has 3, and at first
Right.
Doug was thinking they were the same. They're really 2 different things. So anytime you enter into an interlocal cooperation agreement, which is authorized by statute for 2 units of government to share a responsibility or delegate a responsibility from one to the other, you are required by statute to set up a joint board to administer the agreement. The joint board that we set up to administer the existing interlocal cooperation agreement, by which the 2 stations, I don't know what the numbers are,
43 and 44.
43 and 44 were built. No.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
the 2 that
42,
new
46.
ones.
42 and 46
Right.
on the west side were built. That joint board never met, has not met in 14 years.
Really?
Well, there haven't been any issues.
Yeah.
If there's an administration issue, then the board meets and will take action by majority vote. It's kind of technically there. It doesn't really have to formally meet and have minutes and that kind of thing. If they do meet for some reason, it's usually more informal, where you all will look at a plan, the city will look at a plan, and it'll look good, and the fire chief will look at it and he'll say it's fine, and it moves forward, kind of like that. So if there is an issue where perhaps the city and the township disagree on something, then it'll be solved by a majority vote of this board of 4. That is also true for the ongoing operation of the facility over the years, but that's really handled by the fire contract. Now, the 3-member board is a separate nonprofit building corporation. Very similar to how, well, it's identical to how we handled the Monon Center. I said we did the stations like this 15 years ago, 14 years ago. We did the Monon Center and the Central Park this same way as well. You all issued a bond that the city agreed to have go throughout the city and the township together. Same program here. So that building corporation is also, it's totally separate from the joint board. Joint board administers the agreement. Building corporation will actually own the assets. Will, under the, what we'll talk about later, issue the bonds and pay the bonds out of the lease payments collected by the, or paid by the township from property taxes throughout the township, including the city. Okay, so there's a special authority for the building corporation to issue, a nonprofit building corporation to issue bonds, just as we did for Monon Center, preferential tax treatment, and it's separate. It's not an indebtedness of the township or the city. It's an indebtedness of the building corporation. Okay, so we have a constitutional debt limit of 2% of assessed value. The building corporation, the township does, the building corporation has a separate debt limit from the township. And that's how Angie Steno, Crow Horvath, and our firm recommends we do this transaction. Very similar to the Monon Center transaction. Separate board. That provision was not in the prior interlocal agreement for the fire stations because we didn't handle it through a lease purchase agreement. We just issued straight bonds to the township that are still being paid today.
And the boards then dissolve, or is there one
Yeah,
currently
the
still in
building
place?
corporation will remain
It's right there,
intact until the bonds are repaid, and then it goes away. And there's minor maintenance that we do every year that both Crow Horvath and our firm does every year. For the Monon, the Parks, Carmel Clay Parks Building Corporation, I think is what we call that one. So there are some things that have to be filed on the bond, and corporately every year that's minor maintenance that we take care of. It'll be the same thing for this. It'll be a separate building corporation because this isn't parks related, this is public safety related.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, who appoints these boards? How are they comprised? Who has the authority to appoint?
Okay, so the joint board, the one that administers the agreement and essentially kind of advises construction, et cetera, is the executives of each of the two participants, so it's the trustee and the mayor, or their designees in case they want to send someone instead, and one member of each of the legislative bodies, or your designee. So one member of the township board, one member of the council, mayor, trustee, okay? Then the building corporation, and this kind of gets to your prior question, Matt, the way this is drafted, the building corporation is appointed, the three members are appointed, one by the executive of the city, the mayor, one by the executive of the township, the trustee, and one by you all. So that gives you, they really don't do much. It's kind of a pain for them. They're volunteers. We got to track them down to sign some things once or twice a year. They occasionally have to get together for a meeting. But essentially, there's two township representatives, one city representative on that board. And technically, they own the construction contracts are with the building corporation. All right. I mean, we all will look at them. We'll draft them. We'll be counsel to the building corporation, but they are technically the owner during this entire bond process, and are your landlord during the term of the lease, which coincides with the bonds.
Brian, when does this interlocal agreement commence, and when does it expire?
Okay, it will be if that's not an easy answer. Okay, it sounds like, oh, that's very easy. When does it start? You'll adopt it tonight. We will send it to Corporation Council for the city with the crossed fingers hope that the city council will adopt it intact. I know they're in favor of the project. I've been trying to get somebody to look at this and say, you know, paragraph 2.6, move the period or whatever they want to do. We haven't heard that yet. So if the city council adopts it without amendment, fingers crossed, then we will take the agreement. It will be recorded with the county recorder. It becomes effective upon recording with the county recorder, okay? If they change anything, which they've done before on other interlocal cooperation agreements we have with them, change anything in this, we will have to, again, adopt the amendment and then...
Or not adopt it.
Or not adopt
Which
it. We've
hopefully
done both,
Yep.
right? We've done both. And each legislative body will have to adopt identical interlocal cooperation agreements. When that happens, the moment it gets recorded with the recorder, it becomes effective. And then there's one more step. It has to be filed with the Department of Local Government Finance. And if you don't do that, it's not effective. So technically, the statute says when you record it with a recorder, technically, if you don't record it with the DLGF, that could be a problem as well. But we'll take care of all those things.
Okay.
And then it lasts until it's terminated. It'll be terminated, it actually terminates automatically once it's transferred once the properties are transferred to the township. Township turns around, transfers them to the city at the end of, upon the last bond payment.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a couple things too. On those boards, they are not elected officials on both boards, correct? They are not.
On
No,
the
on
joint
the
board, they're
first board.
all elected officials or appointees of elected officials. On the building corporation
They're not.
board, they're not.
Right.
It's,
I thought they were both not, okay.
no.
Well, you would know.
The joint board is you and the mayor
And then appoint.
and a member of the township board and a member of the city council, or you each could designate someone if you don't want to personally do it.
Okay, and then the second thing, just to clarify for people at home and people out there, we are not adding a tax rate here. These two stations out west will be paid off next December, and basically, we're just kind of building two more stations and using the same tax rate, or similar tax rate. So you're not going to see a big increase in your taxes for that debt, okay? And I just wanted to clarify that for people out there at home and here in the audience.
Good. Any other comments? All those in favor of the approval of the interlocal agreement between the Clay Township and the City of Carmel on the fire station's construction project signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Brian. We'll get back to you in a bit.
Thanks.
All right, we move now to information items. The first item is the 2015 grant request by community groups. What I would like to do, and we have a list of all the current organizations that in the recent past have received grant money from the township. And I have 20 organizations. I'm going to call them off in order. If there's a representative here, great. You have 3 minutes to talk about your organization and your request. 3 minutes maximum. The main reason we want to keep that to 3 minutes is out of respect for the other groups and the other projects that we have to discuss tonight at our meeting. So at the 2-minute mark, Debbie Spelbring will signify you have 1 minute left. We don't want to be rude and we don't want to cut you off, but we need to keep it to an even 3 minutes. If you want to talk less, hey, more power to you. Might be a little extra something in your check. If you're here to request money, when I get finished with the 20 that are on the list, I'll ask for new organizations, and you're more than welcome to do the same thing. If you're not here, you're not going to be penalized. We'll get the information from the organization, and we'll duly consider their application for grant money for 2015. Everybody clear? Debbie, you ready?
I am.
The first organization is the Carmel Clay Historical Society. Thank you, Nick.
Good evening. My name is Nick Davis. I'm the current president of the Carmel Clay Historical Society. And as you'll see, Township Board members, in our application, we are asking for an amount of $14,448. That is approximately 69% of the total cost of the proposed activities that are outlined in page 2 of the application. And without belaboring the point, the two programs that are the main function of the Carmel Clay Historical Society, in which we are requesting this grant, are the operation and exhibits of the Monon Depot Museum is number one, and the other is the programs provided to the public, Boy Scouts, school groups, specifically 2nd and 3rd grade children. Are there any questions?
I have no questions. Do you have any?
I don't.
In the past, some of this has gone to salary. As you've eliminated that for this year. All this goes directly for programs.
Not specifically. If you look at page 4, Matt, there is a salaries and wages line of $57.90. That is a portion of the executive director salary and a portion of the intern salary. By no means a majority of their salaries, but it is a line item you should be aware of.
Mary, any questions?
No, I don't have one.
You have anything else?
I do not.
Okay, excellent.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next organization is the Carmel Dads Club.
Good evening, Township Board, Trustee. On behalf of the Carmel Dads Club, we want to thank you again for your generosity in 2014. Just a quick update, take a look at the photo in your presentation from our 2013 request on the scoreboards we put in at our oldest location of Wodock Fields. An update on the 2014 grant monies. As mentioned at their presentation, this is going to be a fall project. It's actually slated to start late this month. Very excited. We'll be renovating those 6 south fields at Shelbourne, stripping the sod, crowning them to a 0.75% slope, and seeding them with the goal date of 9/1/14 of this year, which right now everything's on schedule. So on behalf of the 6,000 families that participate as members for the Dads Club, we want to continue to thank you for your continued financial support for our programs that through the children of Clay Township. As the Dads Club wraps up our spring sports, we've tallied right at 5,000 Carmel Clay youth. It's a slight dip below what we budgeted for this past spring. However, we're confident by the end of our fall and winter seasons, we'll surpass 11,500 youth athletes for 2014. Approximately 5 years ago, the club invested a great deal of money at Gray Road Park, also known as Carmelot. It's a lease parcel by the Dads Club through the City of Carmel Water Utility, formerly leased by the Hamilton County Parks and Rec. When we took over, we changed all the softball fields to baseball, basically made grass end fields, installed a well, irrigation, renovations to the support building, improved concession stand and other infrastructure items, batting cage warm-up areas. One of the last items we were trying to improve at overall fencing and, more importantly, the dugouts. As you can see from the below photos, they're basically chained-in dugouts, chain link fenced-in dugouts. While years ago this was the standard for providing protection for foul errant balls, that's no longer the case. Dugouts these days should also provide protection from sunlight, non-game participants, and minor weather-related items. Dugouts are still not a safe location for thunderstorms and tornadoes. While we've been going through the process, we found that Carmel Clay's, no problem. Carmel Clay Schools had the dugout system very simplistic that we liked. We just can't do it to the scale of they can. We're looking to go split face cinder block with just 2 support posts and an angled roof on top. The proposed cost, we met with one contractor thus far, is $7,500 per dugout with a total of $45,000. Other fencing improvements to make them right is about $49,000, which leads us to our 2015 request is for $30,000 to aid the club in erecting 6 block roof dugouts at our Gray Road Park location. Thank you for our opportunity to present, and we look forward to an exciting future with you guys. Any questions?
Is this what you're proposing? Is that what this picture is?
Yeah, not to that extent, but yes, the dugouts are about half that size. So ours are 20 feet wide, those are about 45 feet wide, and the school obviously matches the school block, and we don't have to do that here. We'll have to get approval from the local HOA and the City of Carmel, visual approval first, but I think we should be fine with what we're proposing. We will match colors within the park on the roof and such, so.
Where else do you receive funding besides the $30,000 from us?
Our sponsorships, our members' dues, and donations.
I don't have to go.
How many years now for Carmel Dads Club? Jack?
55.
Excellent. Josh, thank you.
No problem.
Very
Thank you,
much.
guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next organization is Promising Futures.
No.
Nobody here?
They will not be asking for funds this year.
Okay, all right. The Hamilton County Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tim Monger. I'm the president of the Hamilton County Economic Development Corporation, formerly the Hamilton County Alliance. And on behalf of our board of directors, I'd like to thank the Township Board for your investment in 2014 2014 and also to request a $5,000 investment in 2015. One of the things that I wanted to very quickly tell you about is that since we last talked a year ago, we've gone through a strategic planning process, we've done some research, and our focus has narrowed to corporate executives and targeted industries outside of the state of Indiana. So our primary role in Hamilton County is the recruitment of new companies to the community, that corporate investment as well as the jobs that go along with that. What you see before you is our 2014 investors report. One of the things that we utilized your funds for in 2014 is a rebranding. The reason we've gone through that rebranding effort is when we did some research, we found that while we know we have a great product in Hamilton County, corporate executives and site selectors don't know about it. And so promotion is very important, as well as reaching out to those executives and those site selectors. To that end, because I have been hanging out with the Hamilton County Tourism Office, we decided to contract with them for marketing services. So all of our branding efforts, all of our marketing efforts are done with a contract with them, and then our staff is focused on outside sales. So we think that's the best use of resources. If you look at our new mark, Invest Hamilton County, Indiana, it is complementary to the mark that Hamilton County Tourism has. We think we can build on the promotion that they've done and utilize their expertise, and be happy to answer any questions.
Mary,
I don't have any.
how about you, Matt? I have no questions.
Great.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
The Hamilton County Leadership Academy. I'm expecting triple duty next year.
Thank you.
I want to take this time to thank you for our request for 2015. I'm Paul Hensel. I'm the president of the Hamilton County Leadership Academy, and with me tonight is Jennifer Miller, our treasurer, our secretary, and Matt Snidely, our incoming treasurer. As of today, we've graduated 23 classes and 574 alumni, and the Clay Township's represented with 574 alumni. 190, which represents 33% of our alum are from Clay Township. Last year, we requested assistance in upgrading our website and database, and you were able to help us with that with the funds. As of today, we've reached 30% of our alumni to update their profiles, and 15% have updated and provided community involvement of where they're working, what organizations their boards are on. Excuse me. Postcards have been mailed to them to promote our website, and personal emails. This year, our request is for $5,000. We'd like to upgrade our marketing material, and we want to put on our marketing material, we'll have a Clay Township branded on it with us as one of our sponsors. We're going to select local vendors, and one of them will be a local Carmel business, Alpha Graphics, to do our majority of our printing and stuff like that. Including your packets, a current list of our board members, graduates of Clay Township, break down the estimated cost of the project, our request, and our mid-form report. This time, I thank you.
Questions, Mary?
Yeah, I do have one, Paul. I know businesses send people, is there a scholarship fund for people